we're still kind of in a flat area here. We are sandwiching between these two price lines that I drew in, the pink one here and this one down here, which is actually the 61.8% Fibonacci retracement lines that I have drawn in, and haven't really made much of a decision about which way we're going. So kind of an iffy time this morning, a little bit tricky. At the moment, the MACD on the short-term chart is very high, though it is kind of curving upwards. We do see a wick doji and a possible drop here. So I determined to trade on that and did a short, put in an exit order at the orange SMA there, and watched it go up a bit and then come back down. I raised up the order as the SMA was drawn upwards, and then I finally got executed there when it did actually touch the gold SMA, or the orange one, and made $87 on the first trade. I actually zoomed in a little bit. This is the same chart just a couple of minutes later, so it's a little confusing there. Sorry about that. And looking to get into a long this time. It dropped down and it didn't quite touch the SMA down here, and then it formed a green candle. So I am putting an order in down here, hoping to get executed. I hope it drops a little bit and then I can get filled. Did not drop, so I brought my order up to get in at this point and put in an exit order kind of at the top of the body of the candles up here. And that would be a huge trade for me. The other thing I'm looking at that exact point is the cluster of orders that I see right here. There's a huge cluster of orders right through here, and then a little bit of one up here and then down here, which is kind of interesting to me. I see that pattern a lot. So it often fluctuates between these 2 points, but mostly within this area here. So it is a little bit of an extreme placement of this exit order up here. And so I'm aware of that and watching it very closely at the top of this cluster, thinking I might get out a little sooner. We'll see. Okay. I did get out a little bit sooner, but it was higher than this. It broke through that cluster of orders. You can see the MACD is still churning up, and I think the reason I got out, it's hard to see on the screen, but it just kind of had hesitated in this point. It just didn't want to get out of that area. And so when that happens, oftentimes it will change direction, and so I just want to get out. So I'm glad that I did, because look at that rejection wick. That is really interesting. And then it formed a red candle here. So I'm kind of wondering if maybe there is a drop coming. And there was a little bit of one anyway. It went down to that yellow SMA. And then it seemed to kind of hold at that point and bounce. And I was waiting for the MACD to turn. But when this second green candle developed, I decided that even if it dropped down a little bit further, I didn't want to miss out on getting in at this point. So I got into a long position and I put in my stop order at that gold SMA, just in case it went the wrong way. And I put in an exit order one tick below the SMA up here, which that would be a good trade for me. And I think it's a very reasonable amount to expect of it, even if it is dropping still. But then it came down and I got stopped out. So I sat there for a few minutes and decided to rethink what I was doing. I'm looking at the 5-minute chart here, which is a little bit shorter term than I'm used to trading. It does look like the MACD is still trickling down there, as well as the 15-minute chart and the short-term chart here. We are kind of sitting at a support, so there is that to contend with. However, I can easily see it dropping down to, this is showing it at 23, and this blue SMA here is showing it at 15. Even the 23 would be a really good trade for me right through here. And I could definitely see it dropping further than that. So I decided to get into a short. It might have been a little bit premature, but I did. Okay, and then I put in my exit order at a pretty reasonable spot, I think, and that was at that blue SMA I was talking about. Okay, there's no stop order in. I went in and canceled the exit order because I thought, well, if it does drop really far, it could be a big trade, and I don't want to like shorten that trade. I just want to wait and get out when I actually see that it's time to get out. Okay, and you can see I switched to the 15 and 30-minute charts over here, and the 30-minute chart is actually sitting at a pretty strong support. It's like all three SMAs are right there. So that's kind of what we're contending with at this point. There's a lot of resistance to go down at this point. And unfortunately, this is a pretty strong green recovery candle here. And I'm seeing a green candle on both of these charts as well. So really kind of questioning myself. I think perhaps getting into a short was not a good idea. So I decided to change gear before I lost all my profit. I almost lost all my profit. I put in 2 orders, which will get me out of one and into a long. And kind of glad that I did, because it went up a little bit further, and I put in an exit order. And the reason I chose this spot was I see that there are 159 orders up here, and you can see that that's kind of different from the rest of the orders that we see here. We can also see that the MACD is just now turning up, and as soon as those 2 lines touch, when they come up, I'm going to make a guess that it will be near that point, and at that point it could go either direction. It might continue on up further, it might take a little bit of a break and go down, but that would be a big trade for me, and I'd be real happy with getting out at that point. So still kind of wading through this. It did break through, and you can see now it's touched, but it didn't quite get up to that point that I was thinking it would. So I lowered that order and got out, and now I'm at $200 profit, and I'm really glad that I did get out at that smaller trade, which was a good trade, because we have a big red candle that developed now. And then a few minutes later, after the opening bell, it actually started to go up. I'm just sitting out at this point. I don't have any trades in. I'm just kind of watching it, trying to figure out what my next move will be. Of course, I never watch it for very long before I actually make a trade. So when it peaked out here, and it peaked out lower than this over here, and it started to form a big red candle, the MACD is looking like it's dropping. This MACD is looking good. The 15-minute chart, not so much. I decided to do a short at this point. So I got into a short, and it's looking good so far. Put in an exit order just right there. I think I actually brought it up a tick. But then it continued to go up, and it went up quite a ways. And actually, that 56.40 mark right there was the highest it's been for the day. And it broke through that by a few ticks. And I was getting really concerned. I lost all my profit and was actually in the hole just a little bit. So I wanted to not ride it out. I was concerned that it was going to go all the way up, even to this pink line up here, or even higher. So when it dropped back down, I went ahead and put in a stop order here. And lo and behold, it continued to drop. So I canceled the stop order because it looked like it was probably going to drop back down. And it did. It dropped quite a bit. And I just decided that was just too much risk on the table. I wanted to get out. Originally, I was thinking it was going to get down to this point. And so I put my exit order in there. And then when it got down to this point, I'm out of the hole, and I've actually gotten 2 ticks into the good and a good trade there, $25. So I went ahead and put an exit order in there just to get out. I just wanted to wait and see what was going on. It was too volatile. And also it kind of looks like it's uptrending. So I don't know that I want to be in a short. It's kind of going against the trend. So I got out of that, canceled my exit order, and then when it seemed to be bouncing off of that point, even though these look like they might drop further, I don't know. I mean, this wick actually did kind of hold at this support right here, so that's interesting. I went ahead and got into a long position here, and then it dropped some more. So it was kind of an unfortunate decision there. However, I don't know, but I think I'll probably be okay. I put an order in here to do a reverse, and then I canceled that. And then it bounced pretty quickly, came right back up again. And as soon as it came above the place where I had gotten in and the MACD was starting to turn, I believe it hesitated a little bit at this point. It is actually a decent trade here, and I went in and got out. Actually, the way I played this, as it was going up, I placed a stop order so that if it dropped back down, it would turn into a market order and then get me out. So that's exactly what happened. And I ended up with 350 for profit for the day. And it was almost 10, so I decided to stop at that point. So I've made 7 trades. 2 of them were negative, and all of them were pretty small. They were all under $200. So I think that was a pretty good trading day. I ended well, and I'm happy with the trades that I did. So thanks for joining me.